Oh, really?
Don't get in my way.
I'm assuming it's not exactly your taste.
Go for it.
Like, to be fair, some things are just a little too crowded. And answering you, Muffin,
Let's go.
currently I do need to, like... Current itinerary is going to be wrapping up the 3 or 4 remaining Summonites that I need to, and potentially working on the next family, which is going to be the Light Blind.
Yeah.
Light Blind family is going to be very dependent on locking cards into the Reliquary, or otherwise... Actually, yeah. It's going to be a mix of locking cards into the Reliquary and also purposely shrinking down your hand size limit in order to gain additional benefits, like bolstering the stats of targets, guaranteeing apocalyptic attacks. It was actually a family that came up as an idea thanks to Daniel Rotwind. He has a bit of experience with Magic the Gathering, and as a result, I pretty much just asked him at random one day if he had any ideas. I said, hey, how about something that with like an extra quote-unquote currency? And I thought that was a cool idea, so I decided, sure, let's run with it. Yes, I really do. Slowly, I'm going to work on that. I'm gonna be having, like, a Google Doc to update all the cards that are currently into the game. Chances are, next update will also fully declassify that Google Doc, so yeah, that's gonna be something.
Go for it.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh is fairly complex in terms of how it works. And to say that Remem isn't at least partially inspired by classic Yu-Gi-Oh is an understatement. A lot of its mechanics do take that into mind. The 3-card system of spell, unit, and equipment is pretty much Yu-Gi-Oh! Only I'm hybridizing spells and traps together. Summonites work like ritual monsters, only with additional requisites that can gimmick with. And at that, it's also a specific reward for how the game works on the whole. Oh shoot, I'm running out of time. Where's the exit? Where's the exit? Where's that spring? Where's that spring? Where's that spring? Oh no, this is bad. I do not know what happens when the time limit runs out, and I do not want to know. Let me out! Oh no, we are going to find out what happens when the time limit runs out, aren't we? This is bad. Beep! Please don't tell me it's an instant game over. Please tell me it's like, you forfeit the challenge and the Reaper comes in. Oh, this is really bad. Okay, you just get booted. Hey, I wouldn't sneeze at it, Muffin. I still need to... still need to modify some of the spell cards in the game to incorporate your new icons. Because I am actually using not just... I'm not just using your basic spell, but I'm also using a couple of the other icons as well for Summonites, actually. And yeah, Pot of Greed is still banned in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because card draw is disgusting. Oh, hey Daniel! How's it going? But yeah, like, one of the things I do tamper with Remem is, since everyone is always drawing up to 5 cards in every single turn, and at that, discarding their hand at the end of the turn, too, one of the things I can gimmick with is increasing and decreasing the hand size limit. Honestly, sure, I wouldn't be opposed to it, Muffin, because you did some really great work with these icons. I'd love to see what you do with some of the others. Credit where it's due. You're a great artist. You know your pixel art, you know just your artwork, period. It's a pleasure working with you.
This is it. You
Knock
all
knock.
End of the line.
But yeah, like, I'm very well aware that in a card game like this, that's like a unit fighter essentially, card draw is important. Any effect that lets you draw cards sooner or search out specific cards on the deck is disgusting. So I figure, okay, what if I were to make it so that... What if I were to make it so that at the start of every turn, every person draws up to their maximum hand size limit? And I could gimmick with increasing or decreasing that hand size limit in turns. So some cards and effects will increase the hand size limit by 1, allowing you to draw an extra card in the next turn, which is both a good and a bad thing. Because you can only perform so many actions at a time, which means, sure, you're going to get another card, but you're also going to be forfeiting another card too. And in some cases, that means having hard choices to make. On the other side of the case, I do need to add more cards that decrease the hand size limit, meaning you draw 1 less card, but that... which means, essentially, you're foregoing having a card for a turn, but at the same rate, it also means you're stretching out your deck. Yeah. Sending cards to the graveyard... Sending cards to the graveyard is also something I gimmick with. I actually have an entire family, Scrap Hunters, that specifically focuses on card recycling. Their big gimmick is being able to renew cards whenever possible, or gain a benefit when they do renew cards. But by themselves, there aren't too many units within their specific family. They actually have the smallest, they're tied with one of the smallest families at 5 units. 5 units out of 12 cards. Sorry, Muffin. It's a fairly dense game, is the thing, and it's tricky it's tricky explaining things, it's tricky understanding things. I'll try to explain what I can. Card Graveyard is Reliquary. Scrap Hunters is able to, for the most part, take cards out of that Reliquary to reuse, or add them back into your deck, giving you more chances to use more effects. But just because they're doing that doesn't mean that's a good thing. Because, like, sometimes it's good to be able to mill your deck, sometimes it isn't. Because doing so comes with its own strengths and weaknesses. Like, how the game works is that everyone starts with a core set of cards, and you slowly have to expand that set of cards by buying up new ones, by earning money. And if you don't have enough money, then you can't buy cards, and that leads into a problem. By the same right, forcing yourself into the situation where you have to spend money is both a good and a bad thing as well. Scrap Hunter's big thing is making your deck last, which is a good and a bad thing. It means you can use the cards that you have more often, but it's harder to get new ones. If that makes sense. If it helps, Muffin, Yu-Gi-Oh! By itself is a fairly complicated game, and the only reason why I know it so well is because I started pretty much at square one with where the series started, and slowly worked up to it. So I slowly got introduced to the things like fusion summons, ritual summons, synchro summons, etc. Remem doesn't work. Raken's Memoria doesn't use a lot of those gimmicks. It pretty much goes as far as... in terms of its complexity, it goes as far as... using some ritual units. I'm thinking about maybe using hybrid units as well in some cases. It uses some transforming units as well, but it doesn't go farther than that. Don't worry, Muffin, don't worry. I still need to work on the proper video tutorials as well, so that's something. Yeah, that's one of the bigger issues with Yu-Gi-Oh! Even a single oddity changes a lot of things. If essentially is a toggle, when is exactly when it happens. So, like, if something has a when effect, then every single time an X happens, you have to follow it up with the Y. For an if, you can choose to follow it up, but you don't have to. And it's tricky. It's a hard balance, it's interesting. It's just a lot to take in, and you kind of need to slowly adjust into it in order to make it work. I forgot what I was doing. Right, equipment. You need these claws. Ugh, spell speed. No thank you. No thank you. Just... Spell speed was the reason why I decided to simply have... a simple reactionary chain with Remem's effects. And other than that reaction chain, a case where cards can just be like, yeah, no, nothing can counter this. It's easier to understand and work with, in my opinion. Yeah, the Wardering Zeros are just better across the board. Maybe I should scale up. There we go. Edipro makes it automatic. That's good. It helps when things get a little automated. It gives you less to think about, which is a good thing. And I need to enhance some stuff. Probably... at least make sure these are 8s. And Amy is still weenie with this stupid basic bitch Pico! Maybe I should change that. She needs equipment. She actually needs a- Yes, 99 Alpha Rings. That sounds like a genius idea. Yeah. Since... Yeah, essentially. Such Remem also has that limit, kind of, but since you're drawing more cards each turn, I can mess around with the limit a bit, so you can call in up to 2 units per turn, as opposed to 1. It opens up more opportunities to actually be able to offensively and defensively handle situations. I'm also messing with formation as well. A lot of cards... I'm going to start introducing cards that, instead of targeting specific monsters, instead target monsters / units. Instead target entire unit zones. And specifically not just unit zones, but also adjacent unit zones. Kind of like area of effect. This is kind of like area of effect effects, if that makes sense. And one of the bigger examples I can point to, actually, is Tiljif's Summonite, Landslide. That one is 4 unit zones that are adjacent to one another. And there's no compromise on that. I think I'm gonna take Media? Probably... Mech Knight. Let's see. Amy, take up that Media, please. Let's go... Maziel and probably Fryla. If I can. I might barely be able to get Fryla. It is gonna mean I need to sell off... a lot, actually. Oh. I might actually not be able to get Fryla. Damn! It would have been nice to have that. Desynth the Pico. And that needs Sapphire, so I can't really do anything. Damn. Actually, should I sell some items? Probably not. Yeah, like, with Yu-Gi-Oh!, card draw is very powerful. It's still kind of powerful within Remem, but nowhere near to that disgusting degree. Specifically because card draw actually has its trade-offs. And it mostly revolves around how you get new cards, and that is by deck out. Remem can only end when players actually meet a requisite, and that requisite is either obtaining a certain amount of money, or wiping out an opponent's willpower. Depends on what the players decide on initially. Let's give you some SP. Ooh, that's a lot of HP, actually. You guys. Lure Golden Shadows. Oh, great. I hate this objective. But yeah, while in standard Yu-Gi-Oh!, running out of cards in the deck means you automatically forfeit, the basis being that you have run out of resources. Remem constantly lets you renew your resources until you can reach an objective. The only issue is, every time you do so... Okay, except for the first time... Except for the first 2 times, every single time you do renew your resources, you have to pay a tax. It's like, you earn money by doing certain actions within the game proper, right? Let's say, taking out units, destroying cards, etc., etc. When you run out of cards in the deck, then you can visit a shop and buy new cards to fill out your deck with. The advantage is you have more cards you can work with, more resources. The disadvantage is, well, you have to pay. If you're unable to meet the amount of money you need to pay, then you have to purposely sell off cards at a drastic loss. So you need to constantly make sure that you're that you're doing something. Otherwise, there's no point in hoarding your resources. But it also encourages people to play tactically. If you're able to essentially shut down an opponent, then that means that they get drastically less resources to work with, you get drastically more, and you can continue capitalizing on your position. Holy crap, I hate this objective. Shadow? Is it Gold Shadow? I need you to enter a pit. Please enter the pit. Oh my god! Come on! I hate this! I hate this. I hate this. Get... I hate this. This is so fucking stupid. This is so fucking stupid. I can't get them to go in the goddamn hole.
I got it. I got it.
Oh my god, I'm gonna shit! I'm having an angry right now! Shit! Is there even a pit right here? Yes, there is. Oh my god. Move. Into the hole. I hate this. So in that case, I'm gonna talk more remem. Just... do more... the TLDR of it is... do more things, get more swag, to do more things. Until someone finally perishes, because they've done enough. And to encourage that, one of the things I recently decided to change was how sigils work. Essentially, by getting more and more cards of a single family, then you gain a sigil from them, right? Having more of these sigils means you can get more money every turn. But I felt like that wasn't enough of a bonus, if that makes sense. So I decided to introduce a sort of completion... two-part completion rewards. On the one hand, like, on the one hand, if you get certain numbers of cards, then you can get more sigils to give you more money. If you get 3 sigils together, then you can either choose to get the Family Summonite, which is a spell card that you can use, and if you fulfill the right requisites with that spell card out on the field, you get a super powerful unit. Or otherwise, you can gain a specific allegiance ability, I'm gonna call it. This allegiance ability is essentially a passive ability that can be further used to encourage synergy between other units and help you capitalize on your board state. It's a resource specifically meant to help you do better. There we go, that's 1. Oh my god, I'm gonna have a shitting aneurysm. If you get 4 sigils together, then you essentially get the item you passed up on. Currently, there are 2 families within the game that will not have summonites, and it's specifically because of balance, and because it would make contextual sense for them in the first place. Those are Wandering Souls, who are essentially the quote-unquote beginner, basic bitch, all-rounder family. And also Nameless, who is mostly made up of Figmenti in the first place, and Figmenti wouldn't exactly have the mental capacity to understand how to bring in a Summonite in the first place. The exception being Termi, and even then, it's because Termi is an exception. Just because they know how a Summonite might work, doesn't mean that they'd be able to competently use one. Oh, good. To make up for that, those 2 specific families have 2 allegiance abilities. So they dumb. Yes and no. It's like, the Nameless are Figmenti, and their big priority is to expand their numbers. What use would they have exactly for a Summonite that doesn't necessarily benefit them? What use do they have for something that doesn't create more of them? Would be how they think.